It is Monday, June 9th, 2025. This is the Super Organizer Show with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr., Super Organizer. Um, of course, we'll start with thanks and gratitude. I know you saw you saw the title, so we'll get into that. But I want to give thanks and gratitude to anything in my life that may have started out negative and turned positive. And that's just something that this episode, I'm going to talk about. It was very much life is never set in stone. Their situations can change, and I'm appreciative of people who are willing to make that change with me. There are friendships that ended and came back. There are people who didn't like me at first and became friends. I mean, there's all kinds of situations. Jobs that were like, and we got better. Like there are some happy endings. I mean, there's always things that go the other direction, but I want to accentuate that, and that leads into this story. I'm celebrating, as you know, like 10 years doing the show, over 400 shows of the show, and I have talked about it in the past, and I forget those past episodes are still out there. So several folks had said, James, you have intimated that you have had a very interesting relationship with NAPO, and we want to know why. We want to know why. You're a very transparent person. You always tell the truth, shame the devil, blah blah. And we're newer listeners or newer watchers. We don't know. And a couple of them actually went back and heard the actual story for a long time. I told her a long time ago when I was angry. And I said, so I guess I should do, because it's a 10-year anniversary. This is one of the things that happened during my 10 years. Let's talk about it. And literally, I'm telling you, there is a happy ending to this, a happier ending, happish ending to this. I'm using this as a learning experience, not just be salacious and shit on an association. That's not what I'm doing. So if anybody from NAPO is watching, I love you guys, and obviously I support you guys. I promote you guys. But I'm not a member still yet. I'm not rejoined, but I do celebrate what you guys have done and the diversity that you've been working on. The new president is a Black woman, Karen Baker. There's a lot going on now, and that wasn't going on when I first joined years ago. So everybody knows it's not just a salacious kind of whatever. But now I won't go into every detail, but I will give you kind of what my relationship was like. So I've been in this business almost 17 years. I'm a long timer now. I've been in this business for a long time. And I'm very successful. And here's what's so funny. Just now, as I'm talking to you, former President Mindy Godding just accepted my invite on LinkedIn. Hi, Mindy. One of the ones I like. I love Mindy. Just shout out to her. Ironic as I'm recording this, I'm like, Mindy Godding, I love her. I love Mindy. She's wonderful also. Okay. Okay. So I love life, how this works. So years ago, I became an organizer. Didn't know who NAPO was, what was going on, and I never heard of it before. And a couple of years in, I started to hear about this thing because I was going online and I was meeting people, and they were like, "This is organization." Actually, there was two organizations I was introduced to, and that was ICD and NAPO. They were like these two organizations, and a couple others were out there that were smaller, but NAPO was like the larger one. And so I decided to join. And I was speaking 10 years ago was my first NAPO conference. I went to the one in Los Angeles. I live here in Los Angeles, so I went to the one in LA. So kind of ironic. But anyway, so I joined NAPO first. And I paid my money. I do every month. I mean, every year, my money. And I was like, okay, I kind of like that. Some classes, seminars, you get to meet people. I was kind of I didn't get fully in at first. I was kind of looking around what's going on. And then I started meeting people, and people were friendly. And I was like, oh, this is great. I like being a part of an association. I came from working for an association, so I kind of like that whole. And I've tried a few others, and I just didn't like them. Um, I will say ICD was I didn't have to join them either, but they were very welcoming to me. They were just like, oh my goodness, how are you? Nice to meet you. They sent me some books. I mean, they were so nice to me. Like I said, I hadn't heard you guys before. I'm out in Hollywood. You know, what's going on? And I was like, okay, give me some water real quick. It was they were very cool. Ladies, they were very cool. And then I started when I went to the conference, I didn't make a lot of connections. I met a few people. Some were a little standoffish to me. I don't know because I was the only. I think I was like one of a few men there. And when I went, I was one of a few people of color. But I did meet somebody who was there who was Asian, and she was very nice. I can't remember her name. She was very nice. I can't remember her name. But I just felt it was a little. I loved the sessions. The people, the teachers that were speaking. I loved everything I learned. But people weren't as friendly to me for some reason. And I'm a friendly person. I like to talk to everybody, have a good time. And I'm like, maybe I'm a big black man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And so I still was like, I still think it's valuable. I'm gonna still support it. I'm an organizer who's trying to get my name out there, and I think being associated with something that's really big is a good idea. And so, but then I started doing some stuff with NAPO, and I've spoken at different chapter meetings, like Pittsburgh and Houston. Since then I've done San Diego. I've spoken at different places. And I'm an interviewer. I was like, I'm in media. I have a show. I want to like promote people. So honestly, I've been doing that. Right? So anyway, so I'm like, I've been a member for at least 5 years, right? And they have a thing called a Founders Award at NAPO, and someone has to nominate you, and someone has to nominate you, and someone has to second that nomination. And I was nominated, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I felt like, wow, this is great news. I've never nominated for anything, apparently, and looking at the requirements, kind of like to my knowledge, I met the requirements. Like, okay, I didn't look at them closely, but there's like what you do in the community and all this stuff. It's for somebody out doing outstanding service for the community, basically. Um, then I'll never forget. I got this. It was like it was a phone call that was accusatory. I'm gonna say who, but just was accusatory because there was a glitch in my nomination. And the glitch was I was I guess, provisional member, not a professional. Or it was like something where it's the same pricing at the time. It was something really. It was like something like I was one kind of member, but not another kind of member. And apparently, when I filled out, they asked me to fill out some stuff that I didn't specify that, and I didn't realize I didn't specify. It wasn't clear to me on the forms, or whatever. Or maybe or however it was, and it was almost thrown on me as if I ruined it and had to rescind the nomination because of that. And I started getting pissed. Oh, excuse you. I was minding my own business. I was like do my own thing. I didn't ask to be nominated, and I didn't know there was a real big difference. So I didn't read bylaws. I was busy working. I didn't do all that stuff. So either way, it was like, it's not my fault. I'm not taking responsibility, and I refuse to take responsibility for it. I was highly offended. Talked about it in a blog post. I was like, you guys can kiss my grits. I took my membership off of NAPO. Said screw that. I said a stronger word than that because I was made to feel by several people in that organization through email and phone call that it was all my fault. That I should have said something, whatever. And I'm like I was hiding something. And I'm like, you should have vetted me stronger. If that was the case, you know the rule. I kept saying, you know the rules of who needs to be nominated, not me. I've never done anybody for anything. I don't know anything. You know what needs to be done. You should have vetted me harder before you did it. That was one. But number two, it was like I made it feel like my membership wasn't as important. Oh, I'm giving you money every year. I think my money is just as valuable as somebody else's. I was highly offended, and it wasn't even about me taking it personally because I know it wasn't a personal attack, but I was being attacked for something that has rules. Now there are folks in that organization who, on the side, came to me and they were like, I'm not gonna say their names either, I'm not good either, to protect the innocent. who just like, James, it's bullshit. You match all the criteria for this award except for that thing. They should make an exception. It was on their fault. And the whole thing was the person who nominated me, it was a nice gesture. Like it wasn't even they weren't it all came from a good place. So I think I mean, even if they didn't catch that part, or maybe they did ask, I mean, whatever happened is skipped through the cracks. It still wasn't anything that was like malicious or horrible. So that person was doing it for a good reason. The second person was seconding because they agreed, and I accepted it because I thought it was fine. So I was hot as fish grease. I was hot, hot, hot. Screw NAPO, kiss my grits. I don't need you. I'm strong. I'm a big star. So whatever. That's how I felt at the time. So after there was a lot of hoo ha about that, and I just want to say the person who won, they deserve to win also. I want to make sure, I don't know if I made that clear back then. That's one thing I don't know if I made clear. I saw who won, and they should have won. I was not jealous or anything like. I mean, for them, for the criteria that they say, this person really did do all that stuff. The person who won that year completely deserves it. Also, there's a lot of great folks doing great stuff in the organizing world. So it wasn't like I was the only person on earth doing it. So I mean, I'll make sure I make that clear now. All these years, I don't know if I made that clear back then. I'm fine with that person. So anyway, and I've had friends with it since. So it's a little bit after that whole thing kind of was happening or whatever, and I had left my membership and all that stuff. There was a person who changed, who started the change of me coming back to NAPO on some level. And I will say her name because she was it was President Ellen Fay. And Ellen called me, left me a message, and asked me to call her back. And I won't forget that. I'm like, oh, the president of Naples calling me. So we talked on the phone, and I will say that she was professional, which I love. I like professional. She was also sympathetic. She was not accusatory. And she stuck up for NAPO on some level in terms of like saying it's a great organization. She agreed it was a blunder, but she was trying to get me to not write off NAPO fully. She was doing her job as president. She was doing her job, and I have to give it to her. She was doing her job. She was doing her job, but she also made me feel like I was heard, seen, and that it wasn't my fault. It's a blunder. It all came from something good. So then she said during our conversation, I'll never forget it either. Why aren't we using you as a resource, a full resource? I've had some other people on my show, but why are we working together? And I was like, you tell me. I said, I tried because I did try to reach out to NAPO years before that, and on my end, I don't know what's going on their end, but on my end, it was basically like, no thanks, we're good. And I'm like, I just want to showcase people from the business part of this. That's what I want to do. And for personally, I thought it's because I was a man. If you're not in the organizing business, it's mostly women. There are men in the business now, but it was created by women, and it was women. And I from being a nurse 40 years ago, I also know what it's like to walk into a profession where it's mostly women. And I have no problem with that. I love women. I love strong women. I think there's so many in this business that are wonderful. But organizing isn't a gender-based service. So you can be any gender and be an organizer. I was always respectful to everybody. And I just, for me, it was just like, is it because of that? I mean, I didn't go to race stuff. I didn't do race stuff on this one. I mean, to be very honest, I didn't. It was very much my gender part. I thought maybe that's something to do with it or whatever. But Ellen was like, just don't give up on us, blah, blah, let's work together. And slowly we started, I interviewed her, and then and it helped a little bit. And I will say other presidents, I want to give shout outs to you, because I've interviewed like 9 at this point. But at the beginning of the early years of getting me back kind of into this, Ellen Fay, Ellen DeLapp, Susie Heyman, they were all those 3 in a row have been and were wonderful to me. I will mention their names. in terms of working with me. And then of course, Amy Tokos and Mindy Gotting. And, it's been a wonderful thing since then. And that's why I'm saying all that went down. And in the end, um, I don't even know if I talked about this really fully either, how hurt I was. I'm trying to make my way in this business. I love it. I mean, if nobody's ever watched the show, or anybody who has half watched the show, must know how much I love this business, how much I love this industry, how much I'm in. I can talk about it for 24/7. I love this business, and I want to promote it to the nth degree. And anybody who's said in my presentations or anything, they know that I love this business, and I feel proud of it. I went on Jimmy Kimmel Live while making television history and talked about being an organizer. I mean, I love this business. But I was hurt. I was hurt as fuck. Excuse my language, but I was hurt. I felt very undervalued at that moment, and I don't do this for awards. Obviously, I don't care about that stuff. It's like whatever. It was the feeling that was being put on me that hurt my feelings. We are humans. We all have feelings in this business. We all are just trying to make things happier and better for people. And when your own peers feel like they're turning on you, as I felt like, I was hurt. And so, but luckily I had an open heart, and Ellen and Faye started it. Where I was just like, no, we have to let's try to not close this off. And yes, I mean, Ellen and Delaps called me on things sometimes, and it's just been a wonderful experience since then in terms of my interviews and talks. And I mean, it was, oh my God, I have to give Minnie Gotting a shout, because she was like, James, you can come to the summit. It's in Long Beach. It was a couple of years ago. I got COVID right before that. I was so upset. She's gonna give me run of the place. And that just tells me that they trust my judgment. They know I'm here to spotlight our wonderful association and the business. And it hurt my heart. I couldn't go. She was, and I can't even tell you, I was upset. But what helped, because they all came around, and what helped me turn around is that NAPO is a great organization. I have sent people to it for education. It's much more diverse now. Also, it is, and they've gone great strides to that. I still feel like they need to do a little more in the media sector, but until they do, I will do it. I will do all the media stuff. I'll get our profession out there. I will continue to do all that if I have to. I just think that we have so many talented, varied people doing varied things in our industry that are there to help all of you out there. I think everyone could use an organizer on some level somewhere, from digital to actual residential, business, garage, life. I believe so strongly, and NAPO has so many strong, talented people coming out of there. I haven't rejoined back yet. I might again at some point, but I do work with them, and I've been on their podcast once. I was on their podcast once. And so you want to check that out at NAPO. You can, NAPO.net is where you can go for all this stuff. But if you are, oh, sorry, wait, sorry, text. If you guys are looking, for great education, meaning great people who, whenever I leave talking to them, I feel smarter. NAPO.net, go there if you want to be an organizer and you're thinking about doing this. It's for me, it's not a hobby, it's a business. But it's a business that's to do with people. That's what it all comes down to. And that's why I'm telling this story, that it did turn around for me on some level. And I'm allowed to have my feelings, all that stuff that happened back then. But you have to kind of push forward. And I'll probably never win an award because I'm not a member of NAPO, and that's fine at this point. I've accepted that part at this point. But I have no problem supporting the organization. And having people. I mean, I have more people coming to my shows. I have people lined up come to my shows from NAPO anyway coming to my shows. It's a wonderful thing. So that's the deal. That's the general version of the story. And you know, it's funny. I mean, things happen, mistakes happen. Just like in our organizing practice, you may make a mistake, you may break something of somebody's, or lose it, or drop it. It happens, and you have to find a way to talk it through, and then you kind of just move on to the next step. But it's still a part. It's still a part of your past. It's a whole part. This is all part of my 17 years in the business. But it doesn't define either party. It doesn't have to define either party. So that's your story. I'm sticking to it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. But NAPO.net is the place. Go there if you're thinking about being an organizer, or you're an organizer already. And just go there and say, James Lott Jr., the super organizer, sent you. I have a blog. AlotofHelp.com is the website / the super organizer. My show is on X, Facebook, James Lott Jr. and JLG Media is everywhere on everything. And it's only me, we have shows every Monday. I'll be back and talk to you next time. Bye.